the biggest thing I ever did in the port was get involved with a wrestling club. I became a Hawke's Bay champion, and I got up to New Zealand standard. And I think when I look back upon all those port kids, there was one thing in common. They were all up against it basically, and I'm talking about the boys. And all the boys I knew decided that, okay, it wasn't maybe something they did knowingly, but they went out to just prove that they were as good as anyone else. And I remember a young guy, he became the coach of the New Zealand basketball team. Another guy became a marathon runner. Another guy represented Hawke's Bay at rugby. Another guy, they all did something. Another guy became a bodybuilder, a champion bodybuilder. Another guy became a top surfer. And I think that the port was the motivation for that, because we were known, no one used the word dead end kids, but it was like that side of the hill wasn't the place to be, unlike today where it is the place to be. And so us children went out of our way to prove we were as good as anyone else. And I know that that was the motivation for me to become a little wrestling champion. I know that's, and of course the motivator, the big motivator was a special guy that came to our lives, and I think most people in the port remember him, and that was Bomber Wells. And he's been probably unrecognised for many years, but Bomber Wells was the most instrumental person in a lot of our lives. And I think a lot of guys down the port that grew up in my era, that went to the Napier gym, the wrestling gym, owed it all to Bomber. He was an amazing character. He actually managed the New Zealand wrestling team that went to India. So he was and he'd been a professional wrestler in the era when it was a big sport. So he was looked up to anyway, but he was a mentor for kids, and he got kids off and running, and he was an inspirational guy, and you wanted to do it for Bomber, and we did. And so yeah, he remains the greatest probably living memory. He wasn't actually from the port, but he spent most of his life down the port. I remember doing bottle drives for him to raise money for the wrestling club. It was a big thing. It was in the old Buffalo Hall, and I had the greatest fight of my life there when I beat the New Zealand representative wearing the silver fern. It was my ambition to prove I was as good as this guy had been written off, and so I gave him a hiding, and it was the biggest night of my life. I was 19 and I went home and said, well, I did it. I beat the guy in the All Black shirt, and yeah, and that was it. It was a wonderful actual place to grow up in. I don't think you could have had a better childhood as you had at Port Haruri. I don't think any of the children could have had a better childhood. I know, because it's a close fraternity now, and all the people my age talk about it. Like they've got this hankering to go back to it, because it's gone and we've moved on, but it's just something that's a solid block of concrete there that it pulls you back, and you identify. It's like, yeah, I was a Portite. You'll never take it out of anyone, I don't think. You just can't, because it's you keep getting drawn back to Haruri. That's, I don't know what the other guys have told you, but it's something just stays with you. It's that little part. It's compartmentalised. You know, you don't think it's there, but it's always there.